Don't let this be you.
Hi, Mrs. Jones. Could you please write a letter of recommendation for me? Sure, Amy. Thanks.
Mrs. Jones must be having a breeze writing my letter. I mean, there are so many good things to write about.
A generic letter of rec like that could be a red flag for the rest of your application. So today we will go over how to actually get the best letter of recommendation possible from your teacher, what I did exactly my senior year. Ayo, it's Amy. I'm a Caltech graduate and now I make YouTube videos about college admissions outside of my normal job. So how important are letters of rec? The skit was actually a little accurate. The letter is to make sure that, first of all, you're a good kid, you're not a psycho. If the schools you're applying to do a holistic admissions, then the letter of rec is a great data point for the admissions officer to get a sense of your personal attributes like your character, values, work ethic in the classroom more than what your grades show. It's also to cross-check and make sure other parts of your application are legit. That's why it's critical for you to make sure that what your teacher writes aligns with the whole rest of the story of your application to paint a full, consistent picture of you. Finally, the more competitive the school you want to apply to, so at top schools, every little factor counts a little more because you're competing with so many good students. So if all else created equal, maybe a super strong letter of recommendation could be the thing that gets you in the door. Not to worry though, because this is the ultimate guide to letter recommendations. Letters of recommendation. Can't even say it right. So today's agenda, including what I did in high school, we'll go over the timeline, who you should actually ask, the important materials you should give your teacher so they can vouch in the best possible way for you, and at the end, I'll reveal the exact cover letter that I used senior year. Let's go! Make sure your teachers have ample time to write your letter of recommendation. They could have many other of your senior peers asking them for letters, so you don't want to overwhelm your teacher. So you should get confirmation that they can write it and all the materials to them at least a month in advance of your application deadline. But this means before you give them all the materials, you want to ask them verbally just to get a yes or no. But how should you ask them? What do you think is the best way? Can I please get a letter of recommendation? Can I please get a strong letter of recommendation? So just by saying the word strong, this is actually going to make a big difference because your teacher can make sure they know to say yes if they can write good stuff about you, if they already feel like they know you well enough. Otherwise, they can be honest and tell you maybe another teacher is a better fit. Using the second way to ask prevents the teacher from writing what's called an obligatory letter of recommendation. An obligatory letter of recommendation means that it sounds like the teacher was forced or obligated to write it for you, so it doesn't sound that genuine, and you don't want that. Alright, so you ask them verbally, can I get a strong letter of recommendation? They said yes. Then you provide them the materials that I'll go over later and the cover letter. This all happens a month before the deadline. Then about 10 days before the application deadline, send them a reminder or verbally go up to them and ask, how is the letter of rec going? If you can't ask them in person, then make sure you get an email reply after you send them the reminder. This is something you'll learn as you grow older too, but you never want to rely on someone else. You have to make sure and confirm to guarantee that what you need from someone will get done. So no matter how you do the reminder, ensure that they confirm receipt or acknowledge that they got your message. I'm a little extra, so I think I asked like 2 months before the application deadline. You should ask the people who know you best and can speak more personally about your character, contributions, etc. Your letter of rec, teacher, counselor, whatever should know you more than just a student in their class. They should have firsthand experience with you. Either you excel specifically in their class and you participate a lot in class discussions, or you're a TA for them, or maybe you're a team captain in a club that they're the head of. If you have personal connections to the school, which I know the majority of us don't, that's probably one of the few cases where the letter of rec person specifically, just for being that person, can give you a greater pull into the school. Otherwise, don't worry if they're not the Apple CEO, just make sure they know you well. They could also be your mentor if you do research with them at a local college. That could be great proof of your research experience and contributions too. I asked my AP Lit/Lang teacher because I had her for both junior and senior year, and because she teaches English, like she's gonna be good at writing. And then I asked my AP Calc BC teacher because I was in her class sophomore year, and then she was head of Mu Alpha Theta Math Honor Society, which I participated a lot in. I was president and I did initiation, so she knew all of that about me. Basically, she was one of my closest teachers. For Caltech though, because they acquire, I think, 2 STEM teachers, I also had my AP Chemistry teacher, and I chose him because I did well in his class. I participated a lot. I remember that he actually called me out and complimented me in the middle of class. So strange. So that shows obviously that he knows of how I'm excelling overall and has a high view of me. I also TA'd his AP Chemistry class when I was a senior. In general, it's better to have variety of the people who write those letters of rec, so 1 humanities and 1 STEM teacher. It's not a hard and fast rule though, because if you're applying somewhere like Caltech or MIT, then it could be okay to have 2 STEM teachers. I promise very few of your peers are gonna know to provide all of these materials I'm gonna tell you right now. You might think it's extra, but I promise you it's gonna make it so much easier for your teacher to write a good letter of recommendation. And even better, because what they write is literally gonna make a cohesive thread that goes through your letter of rec, your essay, your activities, and everything else, therefore making your application more memorable. First off, you should provide your resume and transcript. Your teachers have a lot of students, so this is something they can physically have in front of them to keep track of your top involvements, which will be in your common application too. So you want your teacher to essentially have an idea of what's going to be on your common application. Naturally, then that's how they'll know how to write the letter to align with what you put too. Second is what's called a recommendation profile. A recommendation profile is basically a document that has some general questions, almost like short answer questions on the Common app. You'll list the question and then the answers. It's kind of a fun way for them to get to know you better. There are different versions of this that you can probably Google, but these are the questions that I had and answered on my recommendation profile. And finally, you want to include a cover letter. This is a formal, nice, polite way of asking your teacher to write those letters for you, because they could be writing for several schools. So you also want to include in this cover letter those school names, what your intended major is, and those different deadlines. With the 4 things, your resume, transcript, recommendation profile, and cover letter, you look extremely put together and professional. Since the letter of recommendation is something someone writes for you, you cannot directly control it, so you want that writer to have the best possible perception of you as possible. So my attitude towards these things when you depend on other people is you always make them feel good and happy to do something for you. That means over-delivering and hedging for any possible questions they may have. And in the recommendation profile, that's something you can control. So it's almost like you're telling your teacher what to write about. Like in my recommendation profiles that I gave my professors to apply to top MBA programs, I even went as far to tell them,
this school looks for collaboration, so please emphasize my collaboration
in that letter of recommendation. And then this other school, MIT Sloan, looks for data-driven analysis and strategy, so emphasize that part more in your letter of recommendation for that school. Dun, dun, dun. Sure, letters of recommendation might seem like a bit of a dry subject, but every part of the application is important. Get excited about it. Fake excitement. I know it's a little stressful, but here's your reward, my cover letter that I use. Letters of rec are one part of your application, so if you want to learn how to perfect the other parts, then you can check out my other videos. And my friend Jason, who is an Ivy League admissions expert, he actually got into Harvard, Stanford, Yale, a bunch of other cracked schools himself. He got the toughest demographic, Chinese internationals, into Harvard. So he definitely knows the college process, and I interviewed him here, so check out his advice. Best of luck, and let me know in the comments what else you'd like to see and what questions you might have. Peace!